Have you ever felt that whisper in your soul calling you to something more, but all the things spinning around in your mind have kept you stuck? Well, what if I told you that choosing excellence could be both easier and more adventurous than you could ever imagine? I am Chelsea DeBruin-Colbert, your host of All Things Excellence. I'm a soul catalyst for excellence who leapt off that corporate cliff and left small-town Iowa farm life in my 20s to follow my calling, helping women come home to themselves by anchoring into who they're designed to be. I create sacred containers where women rediscover their truth, design their dream life, and transform those whispers into action. Now you can find me running my business from the soccer sidelines as a coach's wife, hiking my favorite Arizona mountain, or back in Iowa with my family, or on an adventure chasing my next sunrise, hot cup of coffee and journal in hand. Through intimate conversations about the stories, the traumas, and the transformations behind choosing excellence, we're creating a collective healing journey together. I believe in diving deep into personality designs, experimenting boldly, and learning life's greatest lessons through our beautiful chaos. Every week, my guests and I are going to rip down the curtains so you can see behind the scenes of real transformation as we explore what excellence actually looks like. Not just the highlight reel, but that messy middle where the magic happens. Whether you're seeking inspiration to take that leap or already on your journey and craving connection, this is your invitation to join us. So grab your coffee, settle in, and get ready to discover just how close you are to the life your soul is calling you to create. This is All Things Excellence. Today I'm bringing back one of my favorite people for round two, Stacy Foust. She is a human design and gene keys guide, which if you missed our previous episode, we highlighted a lot of what that is. We did a very high flyover, like very high. If you want to know more about it, you definitely want to make sure you go to beunstoppablehd.com where you will access her website. You can get a free human design profile. All you need is your birth date and your time of birth, which your time of birth really does matter. You can kind of guess around with it. But I actually had a friend this past week where if he has this like 50-minute difference where it changed his entire profile, his energy type, everything. So definitely get as down to the minute as you possibly can. Today we are going to specifically talk about your career by design session that you offer, which is beautiful. Do you want to say what it kind of a highlight of what it is, and then we will dive deep into our I'll have a vulnerability hangover by tonight. We'll dive deep into talking about how we ended up doing this session for me personally.
Yes. Yeah. No, I have always been fascinated by what works and what doesn't work. And so in digging into a lot of people's profiles, it became really evident that just even a few tweaks can make all the difference in the world in bringing people into alignment with their vocation. And also how many people are really out of alignment. And it's not just one thing that you can be out of alignment with. It's like a lot of different things that we dig into. But yeah, when you're in alignment, like what you do flows, work should be fun, work should be easy, work should be like in alignment with who you are.
Yes. Which was the most exciting thing to hear when we were diving into mine. So when we do this, okay, Gene Keys is a piece of human design, right?
Yep.
It's like kind of like this like part that's pulled out of human design, but career by design, you do really specifically, well, you do look, I guess you look at both of them in your career.
I do look at both of them. Yeah, it's an overview of both.
Yeah. And people are going to go, what are the main pieces that I need to look at? I've already had friends ask me this, go, what are the specific parts that she talked about? What are the specific parts that she looked at? And I said, you're not going to like the answer that I have for you. Because to be really honest, you have I feel like I've known you for a long time. I feel like you have hit this giftedness sweet spot where you can stand back, look at someone's chart from this huge collective, like holistic view, and things all over all of their pieces of their human design chart and their gene keys chart pop up like crazy. Right?
Yeah, and for me, I think part of it is I have the channel of the 5720, and it's this in like when I start talking to someone, like there's stuff in their chart that I prepare for, but nothing prepares me for our conversation. Like
Mhm.
when we start in conversation, it makes me go, oh, we need to look at this, or oh, we need to look at that. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's no hot way of doing it. No.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I'm a pattern seeking missile in my brain, y'all. So if there was a pattern, I would have found the pattern. I'd be able to tell you. And I'm telling you, there's no pattern other than it's really worth hiring her for the session. After we did my session, to explain a little bit how we got there was I think it was happening before COVID. Like before COVID, I had hit major burnout in my career, a career in direct sales. I'd hit major burnout. I'd gone through really deep, intense healing, and I was kind of like starting to go on the up and up about it. I'd moved from Dallas to Phoenix. All the lights were, green enough. And then, 2020 happened. Woo. And then we went into this huge, I feel like not only did COVID put us in this high level of uncertainty about what is actually happening with the world right now, but I feel like it also caused us to lose our self-trust because we lived in, at least people, especially business owners, as business owners, every day was a pivot. Every day we were reinventing ourselves. And quite honestly, I remember saying to one of my friends, I am pivot exhausted. Like Ross
Yep.
from Friends pivoting the couch. I cannot pivot this couch one more time. I am officially, the couch is wedged in the hallway of the stairs, and I am laying down on it and I am done.
I
And
think it also gave us an opportunity to pause for a
mhm,
moment and really look at what we value and what we enjoy. Like so many people
mhm,
pivoted from COVID for many different reasons.
yeah, I guess my husband has a new career. He literally went from managing gyms, that the orange gym chain, to now he is back in school full time for education and working at a school, and he is living his dream. And we also really we enjoyed that time where we got to just really slow down and be together, and that was probably will always be one of our favorite seasons in our marriage. But in that, I think that I would have maybe realized how unhappy I was, but I was so concerned then with going into survival mode, like keeping your business thriving and surviving, right? That I
Right.
wasn't concerned with, am I actually really enjoying this? And then once we got out of that, we no longer have to feel that way. And we started meeting together 2 years ago. It's when I was starting to not need to work out of survival anymore and looking back at my job going, do I actually enjoy this? Am I having fun with this career in direct sales? I've had a lot of success. I've been in it, around it my whole entire life, but do I actually want to? And somewhere in all of that, I would say I completely lost my joy with it. But I'm very loyal.
And there were some things that you love. There still are some things that you love about it.
Like I knew I didn't want to leave my team and I knew I didn't want to leave my
Right.
friends. But I
Right.
didn't know anything other than that. I don't want to leave my team and I don't want to leave my friends, but I cannot find anything about other than hanging out with my team and my friends that also do this with me in this leadership level. There was nothing beyond that I was like, I enjoy, like there was no fun in it at all. I love my customers. I love my team. I love my friends, my leadership friends, but like that was it. And so we went on this deep journey. I feel like God and I went on this deep journey where I was constantly praying about trying to figure out if I don't love this anymore, then what do I love? And it really led us down this hole of looking at my human design chart and my gene key chart from a whole. And I'm trying to think about I'm like, well, I don't even know where to start with this.
Well, I remember digging into it before
Yeah.
we met, and I think I texted you. I know
Yes.
why you've always wanted to be an Oprah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
forgot how you said it, but
I've always wanted to like what she has on Super Soul Sunday. I've always wanted to have that.
hmm,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and that is definitely there. So one of the things that I really look at is vocation line, and
Mm-hmm.
you are aligned to. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
marketing,
Okay,
but
yes.
it's not marketing in the sense like you need to start a marketing business. It's not like that at all. It's that
Yeah.
you have the joy comes to you, which is in your culture. Joy
Yes.
comes to you when you're able to shine a light on other people. Like you
Mm-hmm.
see instantaneously, you see their greatness, like you see
Yeah.
their superpowers, and you really understand what they're here to give to the world. And so you're able to shine that light on people. And in your gift of that particular one is inspiration. And so when you shine a light on other people, it's very inspiring.
Okay, but the not good part of it is if I'm in the shadow of it, I'm in psychosis. And
Exactly.
so I have if you're watching the audio of this, pretend that I'm holding two sheets in the air, two sheets of paper in the air that are covered in notes. If you're on the video, you are seeing me do this. I have these 2 pages of notes of everything when we went over this. So we'll go a little bit deeper. You can come on this journey. One of the very first things that you said to me was that, like, the idea of Super Soul Sunday, right? Where you're sitting in this beautiful outside scenery, there's comfy chairs, and I am just asking people all about themselves. Like, I've always been hungry to do that. I've always asked people way beyond my personal reach if I
Mhm.
could take them to lunch or coffee to do a leadership interview with them because I admire them as a
Mhm.
business owner and as a leader. And could I please just take you to coffee or to lunch and treat you? And can I do a leadership interview with you? Which any successful human looks at you and goes, yeah. I mean, we're talking, I'm like 24 years old, 28 years old, 30 years old, taking wildly crazy successful people out to lunch and out to coffee. Which now as somebody who is closing out her 30s, if some wild little hungry 24-year-old asked me that, I would be like, let's go. Absolutely. So, one of the things that you had said to me, though, within this was if I have to try and think too hard, I will
Mhm.
always go into that psychosis. So, in my vocation, in my career field, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. It's not what I do, but how I'm doing it. And if I have to try or think too hard, I'm always going to move into this psychosis where I'm overanalyzing. And I thought, well, that explains a lot this last year as I became really obsessed with how I was lead generating and then what I was doing with those leads. Like I became overly obsessed with words in emails,
Yes. Yes.
which is so ridiculous, right? Because something that you've said to me over and over again, and it's not in one spot of
No,
my
it's
chart,
not.
it's all over that I should
Yep.
never be in the weeds.
Right.
Like it's
Mhm.
vital that I'm like trusting life.
Yep. It's in your motivation. It's in your pearl. Like it's everywhere.
It is
Everywhere. Everywhere.
everywhere. It is
Mhm.
everywhere. So this last week, I officially hired a full-time virtual assistant. And while I was having a little bit of a panic attack about it, because it's kind of a big responsibility to have a full-time person that's all yours, my mom was like, "This is so good because you're at your best when you only work with the people." And I thought to myself, "Did you and Stacy talk? Like, who told you this?" Because
Yeah.
I felt like that's something that you would say to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Because
With your
that's my chart, right? About
with innocence motivation, you're here to influence, and
Mhm.
you're really just here. And you're a projector, so you do need to get away every time, every once in a while and be in your own energy. But then when
Mhm.
you come out of that
Mhm.
energy, you're like, let's go, let's do this. And so you have that people time. You need that people time.
Yes.
It's in your profile too, for crying out loud. Like it's
Yeah. And
everywhere.
also in that, isn't there the thing, there's that thing where it's like you should be like literally in the weeds working with the people, or you're more like removed from the people.
Yep, it's both. You need both. You need
Yeah.
time in your own space, but you also need to be with people
Hmm.
to
Like my
inspire.
incubator a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
right? In my
Yeah.
researching. So, okay, so we were talking down this line. You guys, we've been going down this line and we talked about whether, like, you can look in someone's chart and you can tell if they should be working with one-on-one people, if they should be working with groups, if they should be working more with like the masses of society, right? Like that's
Hmm.
also within here, which mine is
Yes.
not one-on-one, it's not groups, it's like the collective whole of society,
Yep.
which I'm in my land of like self-doubt, self-sabotage. Why should I start this podcast? Like, what is it even about? I felt like God had been just banging on my head every day that I need to do this. And that's when you really started bringing this forward. And you're like, no, literally, it is in your design.
And the funny thing is, when I work with people, almost all of them, when I share with them like the who they should be working with and how
Mhm.
many and all of that, they're like, I always thought that was my ego. Like I thought that was my ego saying I need to like have a podcast. I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
not your ego. It's really how you're wired.
Because what's another example? You had an example of a client you had recently where they were going to do one thing and you were like, actually,
Yeah.
right.
Actually, that had more to do with just how she's wired. She's a five in her vocation and she's a leader and she was going to work for somebody else. And all over her chart was like, You are not here to be micromanaged. You are not here to like be under somebody else or follow somebody else's rules. You're the leader. You're the one who sets the pace. And it
So
was all over her chart.
my husband, Kobe, has a 5 in his vocation, and he had a major over the last 20 years that we have known each other. He's really good. I always say, like, he's really good working for someone else as long as they let him
Yes.
do what he knows he needs to do. Like,
Mhm.
no one is more OCD, attention to detail, get their work done than him. Like, but you've got to trust him. He couldn't, I always say, like, if there's a micromanaging boss, he's out.
Same,
And is
same.
that it where it's like, so he does have that line 5 in his vocation, right, in his career field, but
Mm-hmm.
it works for him as long as he has his
Mm-hmm.
environment of work that who's
Mm-hmm.
overseeing him allows him to do what he needs to do the way he already knows that he should do it, right?
Right,
So
right.
that's where he gets away with. He does like obviously he works for the I don't know how do you say that? Like the town's education, like the literally the school district, local school district. But that's
Mhm.
how it works for him.
Yes. And as I also have a 5 in my vocation, and the shadow of that is always assuming that we need to work in a hierarchy. Like there's the top person and then everybody else is underneath. And that is
Mm.
not the way we're going in society. Society is all about
Mhm.
leaders are like the hub,
Mhm.
and everybody is designed to do their part, step into their strengths. It's all about empowered leadership. And
Mhm.
so he's really probably great at empowering the people around him. So
Mhm.
he doesn't always have to be the one that has to have all the answers and everybody relies on him, because that too would just drive him crazy.
Yeah, literally drive him crazy. He really loves being available to help people when they need it, but if people are, I would say, like overusing his abilities,
Mhm.
he gets
100%.
really frustrated. Like he manages their social media, their athletic social media, and he has certain requirements of things that he's supposed to post. And I've noticed if other coaches try and overextend what he really should be doing, he
Mhm.
gets a little his projector moves from like I feel successful, he gets a little bitter. And I'll be like, "Your projector bitterness is showing up. We need to talk about this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fives have to have strong boundaries because people just assume we'll
Yeah.
do anything and everything, and we can't. We're not capable. And when people
Yeah.
put us on a pedestal, that's even worse. We're gonna fall off that pedestal. So do not put a 5 on a pedestal because
I
we're
can
gonna let you down.
see that. I almost feel like the moment he gets put on a pedestal, he self-destructs. And I've
Yep.
never thought about that before.
Don't love it at all. Not even one inkling. Fives don't like it.
Huh. I have so many thoughts going on right now. We did this for me. And then now that we're talking about this, I'm seeing so much. There were things that I just instinctively knew about him from studying him. The last 20 years, I knew things that worked and didn't work. But now that you're giving specific examples as to why they didn't, it's so obvious. And I think that was my favorite thing about doing this career by design with you was there were all these tiny little pieces of magic moments that had happened in my life and all I ever wanted to do was know how to recreate them, but I couldn't. But when we figured this out, I understood the method behind the magic and what made those moments. So as we were talking through this, and I'm trying to figure out, what I'm doing with my career. Like, am I keeping my career in direct sales? Am I going to trust myself and launch this podcast? I've been doing a lot of coaching. Do I want to keep doing that? What capacity do I want to do that? How should I be coaching people? A couple of things that you had said, you somehow said, you're here to celebrate people. And in that moment, I remembered that I said, oh my gosh, it used to be 8 years ago when
Yeah.
somebody would say, what do you do? Right? The most common question that Americans ask, what do you do? I would say, oh, I celebrate women for a living. And it would be intriguing to people. And they would say, wait, what? Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. And somebody asked me that yesterday. I thought, good gravy, I got to get this under control again because then I was trying to explain all my businesses and that was actually a really big disaster. But when I said I forgot I said I celebrate women for a living, but that's what I would get up to do every day. And
Mhm.
you said that you could see that all through my chart as well. But
Yeah.
I'm literally here for the sake of celebrating the people,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And
And
enjoying life and not
yes,
having a cause and
yes.
not having a reason, but just celebrating, loving life, living in the moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're all about that.
And it's in my chart. You guys,
Mhm.
this is really annoying actually. It's in my chart that, because we've had this discussion, that if for even a moment I live in the like vibe of when I get there, then it goes from everything working to nothing working. And then there's something in my brain, there's something else in my chart, right? That I only see what's not working, and then I only get more of what's not working.
I think that's pretty much everybody, though.
But it's like really in mine. Like
Yes.
there was something, right? Like there's a thing that's like, so in my culture, it talks about the, because I'm the joy junkie there, right? That
You
if
are
I
the joy junkie.
am the joy junkie, my husband is also the joy junkie. So in this house, everything is either working or not working. And I noticed that even if it's something so simple as like this person is going to purchase this coaching package, and if I assign, whether it's in direct sales, it's in coaching, whatever, if I assign any type of thing to a thing, like
Hmm.
when this is done, then this gets to happen. Or when I hit this, then I can have that. And I'm talking, it could be $5,000. It could be a pair of shoes. Like when I hit this, then I get to have these shoes. It just, it's all
Blows
dead.
up.
It's all dead and nothing works,
Yeah.
right? Which is where it comes down to. It really isn't so much the exact career that I'm doing, but making sure how I'm doing it. Okay, so
And
then,
that would work for some people, but it wouldn't work for your motivation, like there's so many pieces that it would not work for.
not for, right? Like my friend Maria, who is motivated by a cause, like that would work very great for her,
Yep.
right? Like when we get here, then this is what we're going to do. She's like redone her backyard for her kids with that. That would be great for her. Apparently, that is not good for me. I should actually just buy the shoes, and the shoes make me so excited that then I go do even bigger things.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Buy
Yeah.
the shoes. Buy the shoes. Okay, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I heard take the trip and buy the shoes.
Yes.
It's written in my chart. It'll only make greater things happen.
Yeah.
And that actually happened. We were sitting here talking about this at Starbucks, which you guys could meet with her on Zoom, but we were at Starbucks. And as we were talking through this, I said, "Oh man, I keep feeling like I need to get some stuff done before I can allow myself to go on this trip to North Carolina." And my husband keeps saying, "You just need to go." And you were like, "You have to go."
Yes.
The moment I bought that ticket, it was like the floodgates of the world opened.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's in your design as a joy junkie. You have
Hmm.
to like have experiences and adventures, things that you can talk about, things that bring you joy. Because if you have no joy and you have to like postpone joy, then you're living
Yes.
in the shadow.
And
100%.
and
Mhm.
so you're saying for me personally, I can never make it of well, if I hit this goal, then I can go on this trip. Like that
Doesn't,
is, I'm not gonna ever,
doesn't work for you.
I could get emotional on that because I'm like, oh
Mhm.
man, there's some
Yeah.
serious areas of my life that I've always said, when I get to here, then I can do that. And when I get to here, then I can do that.
Yeah. And also being a non-specific manifester, you really have to leap and figure it out on the way down. And so
Yeah.
if you have to like hit something before you can leap, it's just gonna,
I'm never gonna hit it.
you're never gonna hit it.
And the non-specific manifestor, guys, that's something where if you get together with her, she can read your human design chart and she can tell you all about that. And I will give a 20-second commercial on it is worth buying one session with you to learn your variables alone. Like if you could understand your variables, it tells you how to eat, what to eat, when to sleep, how to set goals, where to work, what your office should look like. When we figure that out in our house and
Mhm.
we adjusted our life very quickly accordingly, it created, I thought we had a pretty easy, peaceful life, but there was a different level of flow that it created. It gives a lot of permission.
Yeah, there's so much about environment that
Mhm.
changes everything. When you're in the
Yeah.
right environment, it opens you up to being able to think clearly, being able to like make decisions clearly.
Yeah.
It opens you up to so many things.
So I think that is, if you're going like, if somebody needs me to validate, but why do I really need to do this session with her? I think that at the end of the day, the level of permission that you give people to live in their own level of crazy is priceless.
That's what gives me goosebumps. Like,
It's like no
well,
one can question my magic now.
yeah. Well, you don't even question your magic anymore.
That's actually the best part. No, I not only can no one else question my magic, people could question my magic and then it would make me question me. But
Mhm.
now I know me so well that literally no one can question me. And I think that so along with her, I've been doing some good therapy, like shouldn't we all? And I said to my therapist a few days ago, she said, "Well, how do you feel? How does you now feel, you today now feel looking back at, 3 years ago you, 8 years ago you, and 10-year-old you?" And I said, "Me today, Chelsea, who has worked with Stacy Foust, who knows herself so well and trusts herself 100 billion, 10 trillion percent, would never, those things would never happen again because I would catch it before it would ever get that bad. Like I would never allow myself to be in these relationships where people
Situations. Yeah.
were allowed to question me. It's the
Yeah.
situations and relationships. I wouldn't even go there,
Yeah.
you know?
It's knowing thyself. When you know yourself, other people can't tell you who you are anymore.
Mhm.
So it's about, somebody sent me something today that said, when you really understand who you are, you don't have to try and fit in anymore. You just belong. And when you belong, I think Brene Brown said it, when you
Uh-huh.
belong, you're not having to change
Yeah.
yourself to fit into an organization or a group
Yeah.
or whatever. You just belong. And
Because you don't need to. Like
don't,
there's no feeling of I don't belong, but there's also no feeling of like, how do I belong?
exactly.
You just do.
It's such freedom. Like that is my pearl. And I love bringing freedom to
Yeah.
people. Like it's
Yeah.
so freeing to really understand how you're wired. And at a really deep level, everybody knows that they're wired this way. When I share with them, I don't even know what I'm sharing with them. A lot of times it's just right there because I don't have that particular gate in my design, but when I share it, they like hear things that help them come into alignment with who they are and they don't even question it anymore. That's my
Yeah.
favorite. It's so
Yeah.
empowering. Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And then because at the very end of our conversation, we
Mhm.
talked about like what will it look like then? So given all the things, all the pieces that you can see, what does
Mhm.
that look like for me specifically then to have a podcast and why is that good for me?
Mhm.
How should I be coaching people, right? Like I love coaching people, but how should I be doing that? And I love my career in direct sales because I love my team, I love my customers, and I love my friends.
Mhm.
But how do I need to approach it so it can feel fun, like I can fall back in love with it again,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
And okay, so do you remember what you said?
I think it
Remind me
had
about that.
something to do with, well, you're not designed to coach, all the time one-on-one, because that would
No.
really, yeah. It's about your line six. So it's about society and changing. You're a changer. You're here to change the way people see things and so it's creating courses, it's doing
Mhm.
podcasts, it's like getting your innocence out there of what you believe and how you see the world,
Mhm.
your influence, and at a higher level, not where
Like I could never be a therapist sitting there having 20 clients a week. Absolutely not. Like it just
no.
wouldn't work. But it's good for me, right? Like you said something about like it's almost like this incubator where I enjoy so many sessions with people one-on-one and in groups for the sake of then taking that information, learning it in my trial and error
Yeah.
phase where permission to all the parents of the world. It is impossible for me to learn from other people's mistakes. I can only learn from my own,
Yep.
right? Yeah, there you go, parents. It's real. My parents are like, oh,
Girl.
if you can't say after, say amen, right? Like that is them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was probably the most frustrating thing. We talked about me creating this like Voxer pass part of my coaching, which okay, so that's a great example.
Mhm.
Like I
Yes.
can be a coach, but I cannot be doing these like I can't be doing back-to-back appointments, like 10 to 20 appointments a week, not even close. I said, well, what about creating this Voxer pass where people could literally buy this pass for the 7-day pass to have a conversation with me on Voxer? Can you explain why when you look at my chart, me being in conversation with someone over this 7-day period is not only what's best for me, But
Mhm.
why is that best? Why is that best for them if they're going to work with me? Can you like
Well,
explain how
yeah.
that summarizes on my chart? Yeah. Okay.
Well, first of
Because I want to
all,
give them like a life example. I'm like, this is how this actually floats out. Yeah.
yeah. So first of all, you're a projector, and so your
Mhm.
energy is not consistent. And so having to be on at a certain time in a certain place
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily work for you. You work best to go in when you have the energy and answer the Voxer messages and then be done. And also, you do have that. Let me make sure. Yes, you have the line of wisdom, I call it, the line of structuring. And so with that line of structuring, 99% of the time, you really do understand what's going on because you recognize patterns and you see where
Mhm.
people are going off in the weeds. And so you do have the answers. And when they're inviting you in through Voxer to say, okay, I'm dealing with this, what should I do? This is like a perfect way for a projector to like be invited in. And with your
Yes.
line of structuring, you 99% of the time know how to answer that. And in a
Yeah.
time when you're on, your energy is on. So yeah, it works perfect for you.
Well, isn't it, it's like that's why my magic is in my conversation, right? Where this person and I are really talking it out, and it just doesn't work like 5 o'clock on Wednesday. I might not be there then, but it's like as we're going through the week and we're having these conversations, and I'm getting more information, and I'm allowed to ask a million more questions. It's like I always say, like it's literally like God is like shooting it down in my head and out my mouth. And half the time, I'll say something to somebody, like my friend Kelly the other day. I said something to her and I said, "Tell me really quick, what did I just say? What did I just say to you? What did I just say to you?" It was so shocking to her and so on point. I'm like, "Say it back quick, 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 quick before we both like we got to grab a hold of this thought, you know?" Because it's not me. It's like flowing through me, but it's definitely not, and that's in there, right? Which is why the box.
Yeah, you also have the line of awareness and the line of inspiration, like that whole line coming from the top of your head down, down, down into your identity. Like
Mhm.
that is such a great, like those are three channels in a row that are
Mhm.
creating this ability to like know what to do. But it
Mhm.
doesn't always come like in the moment. It just
Mhm.
comes when it comes. And so that's what's so great about Voxer is you get time to like process and think things through before you answer back.
Because that's where, when I saw this idea about this, I was so excited because I was hating these coaching sessions where I would be on with somebody for an hour. And I know technically, once the hour ended, I know our relationship is supposed to be done, which in direct sales, that's not how it is. It was always ongoing. And I loved that never ending ongoing conversation. But with coaching, it would be like an hour later or a day later or like 3 weeks later where I'm like, oh my gosh, my brain had just put all the pieces together. And then I'm sending them all this information that of course they're not paying for because they paid way back there. And I know that it's done, but it just all came to me now,
Yeah.
So
When it comes.
I was
Mhm.
like not loving it. I'm like, I'm on the right track, but I'm not loving this. And then we talked about like, well, how does this apply to my direct sales job? And we found that when you're pulling all of that exact same stuff in, but also the fact that I love celebrating people for a living was going the lead generating source where I was celebrating people for a living. If they happen to join my team, then I'm celebrating them now in this new venture that they're taking on. And then I would plug them into my community of my team where I had created this community where we all help take care of each other. So I was never in the weeds with them. They were in
Mhm.
the weeds with each other. And I was like very high level creating courses. I would dip in and do all the coaching when I needed to, working with them one on one. Like I really, and then I would celebrate the team as a whole. But
Yeah.
it was all about wherever someone was on their path of life, celebrating them on that path of life, putting them into this community where they're helping and supporting each other.
Right.
And I mean, I had a lot of fun with that. And I
Yeah.
forgot that that's why I guess I didn't know. I had no clue until we did this career by design that that's why I loved that.
Yeah.
I had no
Yes.
clue. I had no
And
clue.
being a non-energy type, you can't be on all the time. And
Mm-mm.
so when you were on, that's when you did what you did. And it
Yeah.
was perfect timing. It was just the way
It
it
just
worked. Yes.
it was like this like right moment in time that it worked. And then when it didn't work, it was like really not working. And then the more I focused on it not working, the more of the not working, right, that I got, because that's the law of attraction.
And the more you focus on working consistently,
Don't even. Oh my gosh. This goes back to like somebody had questioned like how much I wasn't doing per the results that I was getting. So it like externally, if you only believe that things are mathematical, you were probably like, how is she cheating the system? But it was just that I was working so high in my zone, right? Like I was,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're not all designed to work consistently and
mm,
like hard all the time.
no.
70% of you are,
Yeah.
but the 30% that are not, people
Yeah.
look at us and they go, no, how are you getting all that done? Like, this
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Like, you're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. And when you're
Yes.
not and you're successful, people think you're cheating
Yes. And
when
when
you're
I
not.
didn't know, when I didn't know my career by design from you, and
Yeah.
someone questioned that magic of like how I created this big, beautiful thing I created in this short window of time, I thought, oh, geez, it must be a fluke, which means it won't stay. And
Yep.
sustainability is very important to me. Like, I don't remember where that is in my design, but things being sustainable, like having
Yep.
sustainable systems is like life or death to me. So
It's
I went into this
essential.
overdrive. Yeah. And is it
Yeah,
my pearl?
it is.
See,
Mhm.
there it is, guys. It's in there. So I went into this overdrive working. I hit burnout so hot and fast. I became so bitter, which projectors either feel wildly successful or were really bitter. Not fun, not a good time for anyone. And I crashed all the trains.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the tiniest little things. My husband also has that. And they were having these soccer games, and there was a few games in a row that they lost, and they were all getting a little, he was getting a little bitter.
Yep.
And I kept saying to him, you have to have fun before you can win. Because he has that exact same thing that I do. You have to
Yep.
have fun before you can go win. You have to have fun before you can win. Probably sick of me saying you have to have fun before you can win. Okay, so we'll wrap this thing up with you guys by a fun little exercise that we did at the very end of my career by design session, where I said, as an Enneagram 8, our basic need we got to come against, right? Some people just get to be successful. Some people just want to know. Some people want to avoid pain. Enneagram mates we want to come against. That's our basic need. And I said, okay, I know you keep telling me that this is how I should work my direct sales business. You keep telling me this is how I should be a coach. You keep telling me I was like quite literally wired to have a podcast, right? Which is so
Yeah.
cool. It's so cool. I know you keep telling me all these things, but as an 8, I I have to come against this. Like I gotta hate it before I can love it.
Mhm.
So I need you to give me a list of like 5, 6, 7, 8 careers that absolute like that line up for me, and I'm gonna have you list off these careers so that way I can hate some of them, so that way then I can love some of the other ones. So y'all, she was like, okay, so she goes into her little research mode. She's the ultimate best researcher you'll ever find. And you came back and she started listing off these careers, y'all. And I'll have her
Good.
pull this up so she can list them off. She pulls them up and she starts listing them. And I started writing them down. And I was like, oh my, like, I don't know, the luck of God that the first 3 especially, I think it was,
Yes.
I was
You
like,
know what? I'm so sorry. I
oh my
had
gosh.
them listed out for you. Do you have the list?
No, because I erased it. I hated them so
Dude,
bad. It was like a
hold on.
philosopher. You said it's a
Yes. And a science
philosopher,
researcher. It was like
research.
three things.
And I was like, I'm writing this out and I'm like, this is gross. This is gross. Why would she ever tell me? I would never want to do this. And then she starts getting to things um,
It's always
like,
the third, it's always like the fourth or fifth thing
yeah,
listed out.
then,
That
yeah,
makes
that
it,
made sense. And then you
yeah.
were telling me like, could be a host of a podcast, could be a coach, could be a mentor. And so
You're,
then you're listing those out. And I was like, yeah. But y'all, I hated the first one so
yeah,
much that on my
found
iPad,
it.
you found it? Okay.
Yeah. So first one was philosophical spiritual teacher or thought leader. Now, thought leader,
I
I
don't
think
even actually know what that means, but
means like, well, you're a changer, so
yeah.
you're here to like change the way people think
Oh,
and do things. And so, yeah,
yeah.
this is how I think.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Um, and then two was researcher or scientist in psychology, mysticism, or the quantum fields. Number three is innovative entrepreneur or consultant, which you've done your, yeah, entire.
All my life. All my life. Yes.
content creator or author. I can see you writing a book.
Definitely. I will definitely write books. So you guys can just wait on that.
Coach or mentor. Yep. Spiritually, personal growth,
Yep.
um, arts and creativity.
Yeah. And so this is where arts and creativity, this is where I remember we talked about then where I said, oh yeah, music versus sports. We talked about music versus sports. And I said, all I ever wanted to, I love sports because I love all things competitive. And no offense, music people. I know you can be competitive in that. I get that. I was literally like the champion of piano in Iowa. Did you know that? Did I ever tell you that? Yeah, like I literally go to competitions. Like I would go to Iowa State and there would be competitions and I would play and I would win and it was cool. And I would memorize like 20-minute long pieces. Like I had to
Huh.
memorize them. But I have a photographic memory, so it was fine. I could do it. And
Nice.
I would do it because I wanted to compete and I wanted to win. But really my soul, I love sports because I love teams and I know you can be on a band and you're on a team, but it just like I was raised in this huge sports family and I wanted to be an athlete so bad, but it didn't come easy. But
Mhm.
music came effortless. Like I could look at a piece and play it perfectly. I could grab a new instrument and learn it in half a second. Like it was so effortless. And so I never thought about it, but I went after that arts and creativity like as a child, like from 3 years old, I think is when my grandma started teaching me how to play the piano through college. And then, but it was on my list of who I would marry that they would be an athlete and they would love sports. And we would have these little athletic children who loved sports. Like it was
Yes.
like in my top 10, I think some people put things like financially stable. And I was like, athlete, love sports. Like,
Yeah, well, I can see this so much in your radiance and purpose because your radiance is
mm,
44 and and that's all about teams and your people and
yeah.
raising up the whole like team. Like, yeah.
Which is why you said, oh, I remember we talked about this. And then you said that's why you will love courses and you will love coaching and you will love podcasting. But at the end of the day, this is why you don't want to leave your career in direct sales. You want to keep your hand there because you need collaboration.
Yeah. Collaboration and the ability to elevate teams is
Yes. Like I love
what
bringing,
lights you up. It's what keeps you healthy. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. My gosh. All right, guys. Well, if I have not convinced you at this point that you should do a career by design session with her, or at least get an understanding of your human design chart, I just want to encourage you if you look at it and you go, I can figure this out on my own. I just want to take a line from Dan Martell, who wrote the book Buy Back Your Time. Why the heck would you take the time to research, even if it's an hour or two, and try and figure out something when there's someone that you can pay to help you get to the answer so much quicker, right? If they can get you there, then you need to pay them for that. So I really encourage you. I've done a million sessions with you, and I would buy them all over again to get me to where I am with a level of certainty and self-trust that I have in myself and my path. Kobe would probably say the same thing because he's by osmosis. Well, he's done a session with you. Yes, he's been on the journey as well. So, is there anything that you want to share about this or anything at all? Anything at all that you want to say or share?
I feel like you said it all, Chelsea. I really do think that just really understanding who you are at a very deep level, which it resonates, like it'll resonate with you. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you anything that you don't already know about yourself, but when it is in such a way that you're like, that is who I am. This is why I've always done things the way I've done it. It's so freeing. It's just, yeah, it's freedom.
It just cements it. It just cements it. Like this is how you were wired.
Yeah. Which is my
And
purpose. My purpose is to take off conditioning, to
yeah.
help people decondition. It's just my purpose, and it brings me such joy to like
Mm.
see people set free.
You like are the Michelangelo. Michelangelo where
Yeah. He
yeah,
saw David
he
and he
saw David in the marble and he took everything off that wasn't. I feel like you are like the Michelangelo of today, where you looked at me and you knew it's almost like you looked at my chart and you looked at me and you knew exactly everything that wasn't. And over our sessions, you've like slowly pulled back all the pieces and taken off all the parts that you knew was something that somebody else had stuck on me. So that way I could just be myself.
yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. She's the Michelangelo of people. So
Love
you
it.
guys can find her at beunstoppablehd.com. You can connect with her on Instagram. She's got YouTube videos. She's got this beautiful HD hub, this human design hub that by the time this episode pops out, which will pop out beautifully by my wonderful assistant, that I did not have to figure out how to do this because Stacy assured me I need to stay out of the weeds and not figure out all these tiny details that would probably make me crazy, and then I would throw it all away anyways. So praise the Lord for you even getting this out to the world. It wouldn't even be out to the world if it weren't for you. You need to go to her HD hub, which is on her beunstoppablehd.com, where you can have a beyond affordable for cheaper than a trip to In and Out. You can have, I mean that seriously though, you can have access to your 64, there's a boatload of meditations, meditation tools, wonderstorming tools, a lot of tools for alignment is what you call them,
Mhm.
and monthly, private monthly Zooms, recordings of those, a whole plethora of things for people to decondition and step into alignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today, and I'm sure we will have you back sometime soon. Bye, everybody.